All right, so I have been watching, or no, I should. Okay. So, well, I shouldn't say I've been watching, but I've been really thinking about the TLC's My 600 Pound Life, and just thinking about it, it's one of those like tragic comedies, right? I don't even know if it's on anymore. Let's see if it's is it continuing. I guess it's still continuing. That's kind of crazy. I wonder if Doctor Now is still here. But I mean, the reason why I bring this up is because it's interesting how much criticism that Doctor Now gets for his strict dieting. And the precipice from all of this was really from a YouTube video from like a fitness influencer that I was listening to. I can't remember what's his name. I can't remember exactly who the fitness influencer was. It must have been like Will Tenneman or whatever his name is. Um, let's see, or Tennyson. That's his name. Yeah, I think it's Will Tennyson. I think it must have been Will Tennyson, but essentially the criticism is that it's too restrictive and that there's not enough like he should have optional snacks and things like that, or ease them into the diet plan. I think that was his recommendation. But I mean,
So,
if you just look,
Bethany,
look at these people, the problem is not necessarily getting the weight off, because you could do liposuction and then all this and gastric bypass, and I mean we have Ozempic, like GLP inhibitors, right? So the problem is not necessarily keeping the weight, getting the weight off. It's keeping it off. And the problem with a lot of these people is that they have absolutely no self control. I mean, you gotta imagine, you gotta imagine this guy has been just let's wait for this to skip. But I mean, these people don't stop eating. They just don't. They just can't stop eating, right? It's like they have no self. And honestly, they probably don't need to blur this because we're not gonna be able to see anything. But on to be fair, if this guy lost all his weight and kept all his muscle mass somehow, he might be an elite power lifter with how he's able to like move his 600 pound or 700 plus pound body. But yeah, like they have no self control, right? Like they're just constantly and constant. The reason why they got into this mess is because fundamentally they don't stop eating, right? They have usually an enabler, someone, maybe a spouse or a mother, or maybe even like their kids, right? It's usually someone close, family that's closer, that enables them to live in such a way. Like, holy smokes, man, I love my dad, I love my mom, but this is where things end, right? Is like when I'm essentially wiping their ass for them, because of their weight, not because they're like old. But like these people, they don't stop eating. That's the problem, right? They just cannot stop eating. And not only that, but they're eating really horrendous food that is just absolutely terrible for you. Eating at consistent and large quantities, right? It's like high fat, high carbohydrate, and like they have these underlying. A lot of times, the show goes over a lot of the underlying psychology um, that might give rise to these things. Like, well, I guess it's not food, but I mean, oh, actually, it is food. But yeah, you gotta like like maybe they're bullied, or like food was an easy comfort for them. And I mean, you can imagine and sympathize with that side of things. But like, you're not wearing anything, and your dad's bringing you Probably not diet. This guy has like an entire container of salt within arm's length. Let's just say this guy's heart is probably not going to be donated if somehow it survives. But you got probably not sugar. It could be maybe sugar free, calorie free. Although long term wise, aspartate is probably not going to be good for your digestive, good for your microbiota and digestive system in general. I could go on a rant about how aspartase may increase your likelihood of metastatic colon cancer, I think, or was it pancreatic cancer? But regardless, like they just don't stop eating, and I get where Will's coming from, Will Tennyson, because he has oh, look at this guy is eating like 2 sandwiches at a time. And then he's putting even more salt. Or is it not salt? That might be like a salt substitute, which is probably better for you than just straight salt. But I'm not sure. I might have seen that container as a non-salt substitute. But Will has like self-control. He has the ability to have a certain amount of discipline and restraint when it comes to food. I mean, you can't get to a certain level of fitness without that sort of restraint, right? So it's understandable that if he was going to go on some sort of restrictive diet, that he can, have a little bit of wiggle room and leeway. But I think what Dr. Now really is trying to implement and maybe assess is that are these guys going to be able to make serious changes, like make drastic turns in how they eat in order for them to lose weight. This guy is using dish soap for his bath. That's sad and probably not good for your skin long term, man. Thank you for wearing pants into a giant metal tub. Please don't drown. But like, can these people who have ballooned up to 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes even, that's disgusting, 800 pounds, can he or she make drastic changes that is required for you to lose and keep the weight off? And I think Dr. Now understands that because they have no self-control and they never and they lost that part of their brain that allows for self-control. At least he's washing his hair with now and later. He's not giving them an excuse or an opportunity for them to say that they were unable to lose weight, right? It's you have like a minus 1,200 calorie diet, daily diet, and regardless of what weight you are, you probably lose that weight. And fundamentally, these people they're so cardiac stressed that going into some sort of cardiac event, whether it's stroke because you have too much freaking salt in your system, or just stress to the heart. What is he getting now? Oh, it's hot water. Okay, he's just feeling the water temperature. Like, they need to make drastic changes if they want to lose weight and survive quickly, right? So, I mean, I totally get it, and there's this moment. I can't remember exactly who it was, but we might be able to see it actually with this this video where he essentially tells his patients, yo, you guys can like not eat for maybe a couple of months and be completely fine, right? Because they have just so much stored fat within them. uh, but yeah, I mean, with those initial thoughts, let's kind of like go through it. Like I mean, they just don't have self-control. They don't, right? It's you don't balloon up to 400 pounds. I mean, I'm a pretty heavy set guy. I'm not saying I'm like the most fit. I'm trying to be, but yeah, they have, these people. You can't get to 600 pounds if you have some modicum of self-control. And the only reason why they are probably limited to that is probably because their ability to get up and do things, including get food, which is why you essentially need an enabler if you're going to be more than 500 pounds, right? It's just impossible to get enough food to burn that many calories in more than, in less than one sit or more than one sitting, just getting up and doing things. So, well, I mean, maybe not impossible, but very unlikely. But I think Dr. Now understands this just because of the amount of patients he's seen, as a person who specializes in, the hyper end of morbid obesity. And he knows that, one, you can't give them an excuse because they will make up excuses. We all want to make excuses for ourselves, especially if something's just cognitive or consciously, like denying the fact that they need major change and they don't have the self assurance to be able to fulfill that, or because you're unable to have any modicum of regulation of self, right, from what you're eating. So yeah, I don't know, it's
All right,
it's
so
pretty
Bethany,
crazy.
it is a little over 4 months since you
Also,
had last
I
surgery, and
love
you
that.
already started.
Also, I love that this guy has like one of the weird. It's like you can barely understand the guy. I know. I don't know if he's American or
Anything. So
he
obviously,
sounds,
that's a
but
pretty bad
the
situation
man
we
just
have with
sounds like
you.
he does
So
not
you
care
want to tell me
anymore.
what's going on?
And you
Why
kind of
you were
have to
pushing
if
yourself
you
to
see
the
like
point you're feeling
50% or more
guilty?
of your patients just
I
not
don't know.
getting
I'm
better,
sticking to
right?
the sheet that you gave me of what not to eat. So I'm eating like real food, like you told me to.
So I don't know why I didn't lose anything. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a matter of like biochemistry. It's, calories in, calories out. Like if your basal metabolism is at like 2,000 a day, which, they're probably running a little bit higher than 2,000 just because like maintenance calories, just because of how heavy they're and the potential of like how hard it is to just move around. But at the same time, you can't, like, see, they're making excuses. Like, I'm eating what you're telling me to. But the reality is, if you're eating exactly what Dr. Now is telling you, which is, a highly restrictive 1,200 calorie diet, yeah, you'd be shedding pounds just weekly. You'd be able to see the pounds just go away, right?
I think the surgery is working like it should. It just doesn't make sense.
What you're saying is what doesn't make sense. Let me explain something to you. You started out hoping in a magic fix, and then you applied yourself and took control for a few months until you got weight loss surgery, and then your emotional issues came to the surface. And dealing with that is really hard stuff. And now you're hoping in a magic fix for that. And until you take your psychotherapy seriously and do what you need with that, the trend and direction you headed is going to continue. And if that happens, you're not going to make it. So you have a very important choice to make. Whether you want to turn your life around or make excuses and end up eating yourself to death. You got it?
I mean, like, also, you could kind of tell from Dr. Now, he's probably the strong fatherly figure that these people probably did not have or do not have, right? I mean, he's putting the hammer down, but he's not being unsympathetic. He's telling them exactly how it is. Like, and also one thing I do appreciate about Dr. Now is that a lot of ailments, I should say, maybe not a lot of like infectious diseases, but a lot, maybe to a certain extent, like your ability to fight them. But a lot of ailments start from your psychosomatic issues, right? It's like like because these people have not dealt, or I shouldn't say all of them, just universally with a broad brush, but generally speaking, I think a lot of people who are tremendously overweight, 4, 5, 6, 7, pushing 800 pounds, people who are that overweight usually, I would suspect, maybe I shouldn't say usually, I would suspect have deeper issues within their psyche, right? And, we could go into the metaphysics of that and consciousness, but you can definitely understand that there is fundamentally something wrong with the way that they're thinking and observing the world around them and observing themselves to get to that sort of weight. But I like that Dr. Now is addressing that, and it's probably just out of the wisdom of many years, of treating these subset of this subset of the patient population, right? So
I guess.
So you need to keep going to those appointments and do what you need to do before it's too late. You got that?
Yep.
So we have a bit of an issue again. Because you missed your appointment again, saying you were sick, but turned out you weren't. So what is your excuse this time?
I just had some family things going on, and I haven't been able to come out to Texas.
It's just BS.
But I do plan on being
all
out
of it is
there
BS.
to hopefully get an apartment. I've had no luck on this end.
You've been planning to do that for a while now. But you haven't been getting back to us, and you've been avoiding my calls, making excuses, and lying to us. But now you aren't sick. You have completely recovered, it seems. So what's the reason you're still not coming down to Houston to see me for your follow-up appointment?
You know what? I'll be very honest with you. I don't know why it took so long. It seemed like something was happening.
That's not being very, very honest. Well, I guess if you really don't know what's going on, but I generally would not start with say I'll be honest with someone and then start by saying I don't know what's going on, right? If it is within my control. I mean, if it's really outside of your control, then yeah, but I think a lot of people like to have the excuse of it's not within your control. It's a little bit of weakness, but I mean, I understand it. I'm sympathetic to it. But really, it's just another excuse, right?
Every other week.
So you let another month go without doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because you don't look like you have lost any weight, so you keep making excuses. Last month it was 70 pounds, so you're saying you lost another 50 pounds since then?
Yes, sir.
Then how come you don't look like it and you're still on oxygen?
I don't know, sir. But
Damn, just absolutely calling this broad out. You can't. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's I want to be sympathetic 100%, but some of it, it's just the BS. It's hard to no pun intended stomach, but it's kind of funny.
Hello, Dr. Now.
How y'all doing?
Surviving.
Surviving, huh? So is that why you missed your last appointment? Okay. You just had your bypass about 2 months ago. What in the world is going on with you?
I guess I'm eating the wrong things.
You think it's funny? You're not losing weight.
I don't eat a third what I ate
Just
before I
answer
had
the
that
question.
surgery.
You're choosing to
Damn.
You're not losing weight.
I don't eat a third what I ate.
I don't even. Did he even
What in
ask
the
a
world's
question?
going on with you?
What's
I
going
guess I'm eating the wrong things.
You think it's funny? You're not losing weight.
I don't eat a third what I ate
Just
before I
answer
had
the
that
question.
surgery.
You're choosing to overeat and you think it's okay? You play your cards right until you got the surgery. And now you're playing this kind of game and you think that's okay?
My problem is I'm holding a lot of fluid. I can't hardly pee.
Lady, you're holding a lot of everything. That's the problem, and you gotta release it, and you release it by getting on a diet and exercising and burning them calories off that you built up for like a decade probably.
Really? And you think that you're not eating and you're getting
I don't want to get malnourished either.
Do you look like you're malnourished?
Oh man, dude, that's that's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my god, it's like, you're like 500 plus pounds. You don't want to be malnourished. This freaks me out. There's this thing I think called the snake diet, where essentially you don't eat anything. Let me see if this is a real thing. They say it's dangerous, maybe. But man, I can't remember. I saw somewhere, or maybe I heard from someone that ooh, that's terrible. That essentially, like, you don't eat anything except water and salts. Here we go. There's water and then some electrolytes, probably just because it gets through your system through exercise and sweat and piss, but it's essentially like you just like not eating for extended, and I mean extended, like a couple of weeks at a time. But you could probably, I mean, like, if you supplement that with like vitamins, if you're like 500 pounds and you really want to lose a lot of weight, you could probably lose a ton of weight just by, I mean, you have essentially all the macro molecules you need within your body, and regular blood tests during this diet, and obviously drink the electrolytes you would need to replenish. And if you're worried about micronutrients, then you could probably take like a vitamin mineral supplement. That's probably, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried because fat actually stores, adipose cells, specifically brown adipose cells, do store quite a bit of that stuff. So, or is it white adipose cells? Which adipose tissue store micronutrients? It might be both. It's probably both. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Let's see if I can do Chat GPT. Perplexity. I like Perplexity a lot because it gives you the citations. Which of the two adipose tissue cells primarily store micronutrients? Maybe that might be specific enough. Yeah, so there's, I mean, white and brown, of course. Energy is in white. Micronutrients is in white as well. Huh. Okay. Thermogenesis. All right. A little bit flavor, not focused on energy. Okay, so it's in white adipose cells that can store micronutrients. But my point is that you have plenty of fat for you to have micronutrients. But if you're worried about that, just for organ health and eye health and all that, you could probably supplement that snake diet with some multivitamins, and probably be fine for a really long time. Obviously you just wanna have blood tests every couple of weeks just to make sure that something's not wrong that you're not really knowing. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, you're so. I guess the concern there. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist by any means, but I guess the concern would be that maybe you're putting your heart or organ health into risk. But I guess the counter argument would be, what's worse, being 600 pounds, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 pounds overweight, or I shouldn't say overweight, 300 plus pounds, or is it worse being 300 plus pounds for your organs, or is it worse being on that diet and losing that weight quicker? You probably have to do there's probably an analysis somewhere, but I imagine that, like, if you really wanted to lose weight quickly, that's definitely an option. Obviously, full disclosure, I'm not I'm not a medical professional. I only do biomedical research for fun. But I would assume that there's a legitimate argument, especially if you're on the younger end, to be in to go on like a absolute fasting diet rather than a calorie restrictive diet. There's probably an argument to be there. And I'm sure people have survived not eating for a really long time, so it's not like it's impossible. But yeah, I don't know. Do your own research.
But you put on almost 50 pounds since you're right instead of losing. And you claim that you're not eating very much? Really? If you eat less, you lose weight.
I'm not eating. I'm telling you.
And this is for Freddie.
It was.
So part of that it makes sense.
She didn't eat anything. That was me.
See?
She builds fluid
See,
up. She can't help it.
It's an enabler, right? It's an enabler. Somebody has. It's hard to imagine someone getting this fat by themselves without anybody else's help. And it's funny that that you have the audacity to lie to a person who like literally specializes this and can call out your BMI. I mean, this guy knew whether or not someone lost weight based on if they're on oxygen or not, which is, not something you just pick up. It's something that you pick up over years of practice, medical practice. But she's like, I'm not eating anything, and you gained 50 pounds is absolutely ludicrous.
She didn't eat anything. That was me. She builds fluid up. She can't help it. That's the one thing she's been stressing about is the fluid.
You're not 700 pounds of water. Do you think I'm stupid? I don't understand that when you retain water.
You need this help.
We're not smart enough to figure out if she has fluid on it. How are we going to help her?
Nothing else.
Steve, I told you don't come. Why are you calling abusing the system?
I needed to talk to you. I just needed a refill on my maintenance.
Take him back. We had agreement with the fire department, with the chief, that you not transport this patient unless you call me. I'm going to go ahead and call there and cancel your insurance.
Damn.
This is going to be in your diet.
I wanted a refill on my Vicodin, not for pain.
I told you I'm not going to fill your medication.
Okay.
Steven, you're not going to be alive much longer.
Oh wow, this guy actually it looks like he lost weight
I wanted
from here to there, right?
on my
Am I
Vicodin,
going crazy?
I told you I'm not going to fill your medication.
Okay.
Also, Vicodin is a hell of a drug. Famous from, or I should say, infamous from House, right? Like the medical TV show with Dr. House infamously being addicted to Vicodin. Hell of a drug, man. You can't mess around with opioids, for sure. I mean, especially these days, street opioids. Like, oh my gosh, fentanyl with all that crap. But this guy's about to. Also, what probably doesn't help is that this guy's overweight, and I don't know what his bowel movements look like. But opioids also really, really f up your constipation, right? That's one of the side effects. So you gotta be careful with that, man. You can't just be calling the EMS trying to get a refill on Vicodin just whenever you want, man. That's dangerous.
You're not gonna be.
Yeah, he looks like he almost lost weight. Am I crazy?
You want us to write you off as hopeless? Then we will.
Maybe not.
No,
I mean, it's the same shirt, so I guess he didn't lose weight there.
Go back home.
Okay. Then I will be contacting the news.
You want to contact the news? We'll contact it for you. Do you want me to call them right now?
See, it's the lack of there's like a lack of accountability, obviously, and also it's like this is not. He's literally acting like a child here. It's like, I'm gonna tell mommy, right?
Angela, you're more delusional than I thought if you still think you can manipulate me. When it comes to this program, you're not special. And lying to me about your weight is not going to get me to tell you what you want.
Okay.
Really? I mean, this is your life. This is your health. There's no hope for you. You're going to kill yourself young.
Okay.
Okay?
Noted.
You're killing yourself with the food. Which
It says noted when doctor says you're killing yourself.
part of that is so hard to understand? And you were supposed to lose 120 pounds in 2 months.
I'm struggling a little bit with what happened to my father. No. Peanut butter. I'm having a hard time staying away peanut butter. It's...
What do you mean?
This is what I'm talking about, though, is that going back to the initial discussion or initial point of discussion is that Will Tennyson, talks about
Why
this.
is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers?
I wish I could block these ads. But he talks about this diet like it's not been honed down for people, right?
Of all the fat, so it's almost like this is almost a choking hazard, which is why I got my water on deck. But still,
so
because the problem with eating is eventually you have to stop eating and you have to wait till the next meal, which is kind of sad. But on the bright side, I get to wake up tomorrow. I'm not doing this ever again. Back to reality. I think with how I feel right now, like the camera feels heavy. My brain, I feel snappy. I'm in a bad mood for no reason. So I just can't wait to be able to eat again. But I could just, I think I'm probably gonna be 189 tomorrow morning with how I feel. I have to be below 190. I just have to. Well, I'm not below 190, but I'm still down 6 pounds in 2 days. And in theory, that sounds pretty sweet. But if you look at the physique updates, not much has changed. Maybe a bit more abs in the after.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty. 6 pounds in 2 days, that's pretty good. I mean, but again,
photo, but overall, all that weight
and
loss
I think he's
is
about to
water
make
weight
this
being
point.
depleted, and my body just needing pretty much anything at this point. Sometimes extreme situations do require extreme actions, but within that, I always feel like there's a better way to do something. So in this case, being able to have more protein, being able to have a piece of fruit as a snack if I'm super hungry, and just knowing that a 1,200 calorie diet does not apply to every single person. That's just not how it works. Dr. Now, if you're watching this, hi. And to all you guys, thank you for watching, and I'm gonna go have ice cream for breakfast.
Yeah, but I mean that's the point, right? It's like if you give them the option, quote the option, of having a little snack like a piece of fruit, right? One, for Will, for a piece of fruit for him, at the absolute high end in what he considers a snack, absolute extreme of what he might consider a snack, would be like a grapefruit, right? Like a large grapefruit. But for people who are like eating multiple pizza pies a day, full family size pizza pies, like 18-inch pizza pies, a piece of fruit for them as a snack might literally be like 4 cantaloupes, and I'm might be being a little hyperbolic here just to make my point, but for them a snack is considerably more than what you might consider a snack. Also, you have to consider that a lot of the high calorie, high fat foods, high glycemic index foods are cheap, and these people probably just on a grand scheme of things just generally may be in the less affluent end of the socioeconomic spectrum. So instead of eating expensive, less or better quality, less calorie fruit, they're probably picking up slightly higher sugar content, cheaper fruits to eat. But my point in all of this is that Will has like self-control. He can modulate his diet pretty well. Again, you can't really get down to sub 10% body fat, which he might very much be in most of the year as a fitness influencer. You have to have a level of self-control, both in the gym and in the kitchen, right? You just have to. But again, you're 600 pounds. You don't have self-control. You just don't, right? And so, with a little bit of tough love, harsh criticism, and forward incentive, right? you might be able to build it kind of almost like a boot camp by going on this highly restrict 1200 calorie diet that really restricts you to only a handful of types of food, right? So like I would guess that this guy has to write 90% lean, 10% fat ground beef on lean, as an ingredient instead of just lean beef, because a lot of these people might consider like 70%, 70-30 ground beef as lean, right? Because it's mostly protein and and it's only 30% fat, right? So it's just something that I think is not considered. If anything, I would probably make it even restrictive, like have a no food for a week almost, just to see where they're at. But yeah, but let me pause right here right quick and then see what's going on. Okay, sorry, I just got off of a phone call and had some dinner, but here we go, 30 minutes later. Where were we? So
Peanut butter.
I don't even remember where we were.
Just something I like eating.
You buy it for him or you buy it
I buy it for the household, but you know what? I'm not going to buy no more. Okay.
For you to maintain weight of 696 pounds, you start eating around 10,000 calories a day. That's not trying. That's
crazy. Did he just say that right? Did I hear that right?
For him or you buy it
I buy it for the household, but you know what? I'm not going to buy no more. Okay.
For you to maintain weight of 696 pounds, you start eating around 10,000 calories a day. That's not trying. That's not even close. How about your eating habit?
I couldn't afford to buy.
Wait, he's eating 10,000 calories per day in order to maintain 700 pounds. Is that correct?
Okay.
For you to maintain weight of 696 pounds, you start eating around 10,000 calories a day. That's not trying. That's not even close. How about your eating habit?
That's
I
crazy.
couldn't afford to buy groceries and buy pads and diapers.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with your eating habit? You know that the only way to get out of that is eat less. And you eat more because you're stressed?
Yes.
Each part of it doesn't make any sense.
Just leave it alone because it's not working.
You're absolutely right about that.
Damn. Oh my God.
I understand you need to go back home and eat
brutal.
whatever you want.
I can't help myself.
This perfect. That perfectly illustrates my point. Is that basic psychoanalysis is like the id and the ego, right? It's like id wants to just eat, no stopping, just that's like very basal desires, but the ego, she clearly understands that that she needs to stop eating, but she also has like the self-awareness that she can't help herself. Like these people, I say this with a level of sympathy, but people who balloon up to these astronomical weights, they can't help themselves. It's like they it's like it's like the opposite of David Goggins. It's like they always choose the easy way out, which is just eat their feelings, eat to satiate a certain part of their, it's not even necessarily hunger, maybe it is, but it satiate a certain part of their desires. I mean, like I could even put it into like a biblical context, right? It's like the desires of the flesh, like just eat gluttonously, and yet we know there's although there's evil that desires us to like literally kill ourselves with the amount of food that we eat, but it's but there's something that calls within us that tells us, or maybe, depending on what tradition of Christianity, but that something's not right, and it's like it's so sad that they're in that situation, but to a certain extent you have to have self-ownership, but but it is like the anti-Goggins, and I'm kind of like tangentially aware of Goggins' David Goggins' story, which is he used to be super fat and obese as well, maybe not 600-pound fat, maybe I think it was like 400-pound fat, but it's like you create these bad habits that ingrain this idea of doing what you want, eating what you want. But the reality is that in order to get out of that, you got to break those habits. Sometimes, almost like boot camp, very suddenly and aggressively, and continuously, which is probably Dr. Now's philosophy or thought process, or in all of this. But it's of course, like, I don't really know what I can barely understand the man while he speaks, so I can't give you any more detail beyond that. But it's kind of funny. But like you can see, he's like disappointed here. He's just like, maybe not. I don't know him that well. I don't know. But it's like, I'm also thinking like, maybe this inflation is good for our America's health, because less people will be eating crappy food because they can't afford it. Maybe there's something to that, but I doubt that's actually gonna happen. But maybe you can make an economic argument based on economics. But yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, like, this guy needs 2 beach towels to. No, that's his pants. Never mind. Oof. I mean, I don't know why they blurred that out. That's not even his butt. That's his leg flap. Dude.
Be careful on that hardwood floor when you go in there, because you might slip.
Oh my God! If this guy slips, crazy. Oh, dude. Oh my God.
I want him to have a normal life, and that's not normal. No,
shit, dude. Oh my God! I hope the camera guy was not there. Just
getting that. We've got to make some drastic changes.
Dude, I hope the camera guy's not there. Can you imagine the stench of that wood?
It gets old, and I get tired of it, and he should be more active, but he's not. He's just there. He's just there. And I wait on him hand and foot, and I shouldn't do it, but I do.
Yeah, and it brings up a good point, is you could almost argue that as the enabler also probably has some psychosomatic issues too, right? Like some sort of history that can be history and like personality traits that can be dissected as well, that allows them for the enabling, right? And I see this kind of in myself too. Like I feel like I'd probably be if I don't know if I could see myself in both the obese situation and the enabler situation, but I see myself more with the enabler, because I genuinely have a hard time saying things that are hurtful, and even though they're true, and telling the truth in difficult situations. It's something that I definitely make an adamant choice to do. But that being said, like I could see like it's hard for the parent to like stop, or spouse, or what have you, to just stop helping the or stop the habitual hand and foot kind of like service that requires of their obese loved one to get that big, right? It just takes a certain person, and I could definitely imagine myself, if I'm not careful, like allowing these bad habits to really ingrain and allow for people to balloon up to like 800 pounds. But this also, this is what's crazy. This is crazy to me. This is because now I've seen these girls. This is Amy and Tammy, if you're just listening, but I've seen these girls who it's literally 1,000-pound sisters, because I believe collectively they are 1,000 pounds plus, which is absolutely insane. Just absolutely. I want to say curse words, but I'm not. Absolutely crazy. Just because they are both. I don't know if they're enablers anymore, because I don't know if that's their relationship.
Get Tammy out of the house so that she won't think about food. So we decided to go get us some mani-pedis. We haven't done this since her prom back in high school.
Oh my gosh. I'm wondering what they looked like back in high school. Yeah, maybe you should ask if they had
When I seen the
steps.
stairs, I immediately knew I wasn't going to be able to go up them.
You want to try?
I can't.
Okay. Honestly, Tammy needs to start pushing herself more right now.
It's literally 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. I know I shouldn't say this. I know I know this is like the wrong way to think. But it like, to a certain extent, society is enabling this sort of behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, somehow, somewhere, people think that this is acceptable behavior. And by the way, I see the chair. The chair is she's not gonna fit in that chair. She's gonna have like half a cheek just like not be able to be on that chair.
Now she ain't pushing herself at all. She says she is, but
oh my gosh,
she must be doing it in her sleep. We're about to have gastric bypass surgery.
Oh, okay.
So she might be able to do stairs soon.
It's crazy. This lady has a fat flap on her forehead. Literally, these sisters really I'm lost for words when describing like what I think about them. You know, it this is like a different challenge compared to Dr. Now's sort of restrictive diet, right? Because now you have two people. It's not only they both to a certain extent have to be enablers, and both to a certain extent have to be the ones who have like absolutely no self-control, right? And it's alluded to in the beginning of this clip because she says she literally has to get out of the house or they're going to eat something and think about food. But that being said, it's how do you even start this this journey? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even start like going through the journey of like extreme weight loss? You know. Like, I mean, obviously they did just because they're getting gastric bypass surgery, which you know, to a certain extent, you have to kind of prove that you're going to lose the weight. But I mean, both have to be like bought into it, and also, I don't know. This relationship is just more difficult, I feel like.
Well, that's exciting.
I don't know.
Okay, now this is what I want. When you have
also, I wouldn't characterize gastric bypass surgery as exciting. I understand why she might say it, because she might be as lost for words as I am, and her job is service. So she has to be like, I don't really know what to say, but I would say like getting married is exciting, maybe, or like having a child is exciting, but gastric bypass surgery is not exciting. That's like the opposite of exciting. That's like the it's like I don't really know how to. That's like saying like it's about as exciting as cutting off a leg in the Civil War, you know, amputating a limb
lost enough weight that you can actually get up here,
Jesus.
I want you to come back, and it will be my treat.
Free?
Yes, it will be my treat for you.
Oh wow, that's very
Deal?
nice of her.
Deal.
Oh, that's actually wow, dude, she's solid. What
Not
a
you,
what a
just
lovely
me.
lady. What a lovely lady. I guess the question is, are they actually gonna lose the weight? Right? I don't know. They might. I should look this up. Did Amy and Tammy ever like lose weight? Did they actually get there? Oh snap! They lost the weight. Yo, that is crazy. That's insane. Good for them. I mean, even like that is like a huge, like a huge progression. Like going from like wheelchair, walker bound to being able to walk with oxygen take. I'm not a fan of that hair color, to be honest, but wow, good for them. Also, her eyes. Jeez, her eyes. Probably a window to someone's soul right there, right? Something to say about that. I mean, they lost a ton of weight, man. It's kind of impressive, actually. I mean, obviously, they went from like the extreme end of morbid obese to just obese, but progression is progression, man. You can't. I don't think that's true, but that photo is definitely not real. But you can't undermine that. That's a huge difference. Yeah, going from like 400 pounds to 300 pounds. And then that's big. I mean, obviously, still a long way to go, and half a lifetime to balloon up to 600 pounds, and it's gonna take another half a lifetime to get to the right health. I mean, God willing, that happens for them. But oh my gosh, yeah, this is I mean, I think I made my point clear. Like, you can't give any sort of leeway and ability for them to, I mean, any sort of like what am I trying to say? You can't I think even the feet people aren't really going to enjoy that photo, but you can't really give people who have like very little to no self-control, no ability to restrain themselves, any sort of avenue of excuse, or any sort of like path to or a thought of potential excuse. It's just not something that you should also. These people are saints for literally doing what they do for them. Like it's literal. It's a little, every little thing in your life, right? It can be done for good or for evil, sort of sentiment. But going back to what I was saying is you can't give people who have not been able to practice any sort of restraint an avenue of excuse, right? Because like it's the excuses that let them balloon up to that, and like I said, it's a portion of what might be a small snack, for Will might not be even considered anything, and by it, like, it's like the snowball that turns into an avalanche, right? Like, by giving them sort of maybe you're specific about the snack or, that they can have, like a fruit, like the amount of fruit that they can have, right? Every time that they eat, within this highly restrictive diet, every time you give them a chance to eat is a chance for them to, like, quite literally relapse, right? Because they're addicted to food. They're addicted to eating their feelings away. And it's kind of one of these weird addictions that it's something you kind of have to do. Maybe not when you're 600 pounds, but, you know, like just it's ingrained in that we kind of have to eat 3 square meals a day. But that being said, you can't give them more opportunities to relapse than they are at the very minimum. And I think it's like, honestly, if I was Dr. Now, I'd give the opposite advice of what Will gave him, which is, if I had the opportunity to speak to him, it's like you have to put them in an even more restrictive diet. Like, I would much rather put them on a put people, if it's healthy, if they're healthy enough. I mean, this huge if, obviously, is maybe even like put them into inpatient care for a little bit, right? Not the least intensive inpatient care, whatever that is. Just have them like in the hospital being monitored, and put them on a snake diet where they literally eat nothing except micronutrients and electrolytes, and just have, you know, heart monitored, blood pressure monitored, all that, and have them on that diet for like 1 week. And then once the 1 week kind of like passes over, you know, let them have like assistive care for like another week, and then see if they can kind of lose all that weight without just not eating. And that'll obviously shrink down their stomach to the appropriate size, and also probably be, you know, put them into a better avenue of gastric bypass surgery. And then after gastric bypass surgery, you can just continue with a restrictive, less intensive but restrictive diet. But you probably lose a lot more weight quicker by doing that. But you know, what do I know? I'm not really a nutritionist, nor am I a medical professional. So but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts, man. It's crazy, dude. It's like I can see myself letting myself go to this point, but it's also really hard for me to imagine that, right? And it's not like this sort of life isn't available to the vast majority of people, which just goes to illustrate that they're just not quite mentally there. You know, there's like there's some introspection that hasn't occurred or is being ignored, which is probably something to be said about that, which is probably why also the vast majority of people are not, in America at least, are not this overweight, right? Because it's not like the vast majority of people can't afford this sort of diet, so to speak, right? Especially if they're on like Medicare or like have like Social Security coming in or something like that, right? It's something that can easily like be maintained, at least financially, and you know, assuming that they're able to work, and their job allows it, I guess I should probably say. But it's like, you know, these sisters aren't making, you know, $100,000 a year, I would assume, right? They're probably making like low middle class income, and still able to get to and maintain this weight. So it's not like, you know, that income bracket and above is unable to get to that size. It's just that they what is going on in this video? I'm going to pause this and watch this in a little bit, because they're clearly arguing about something which I kind of want to listen to, because that'd be interesting. But you know, like if you make like, say, like $40,000 a year and live in like middle America, you could probably buy the really crappy food and eat the really crappy food and maintain that sort of weight indefinitely, like at least 400 pounds indefinitely. But people don't, because they don't really let themselves go that far, right? They kind of let themselves go, but they don't let themselves eat, again, 10,000 calories a day to get to and maintain that kind of weight, right? So I mean, I think it just alludes to the essential point of, you know, mentally or emotionally, there's just not something that's quite there and allows you to get that fat. That allows you to get that fat. So let me just listen to it. I don't know what's going on here.
Damn. Hey, Amy, can you get me a water? Can you give me some peanut
Yo,
butter?
that's crazy. Did she just land on her knee? That might be the hardest working knee in America. She sat with her knee back. Yo, that is insane.
Can you give me some peanut butter?
I'm kind of frustrated with Tammy. We got 2 weeks before we go back to Proctor. She hasn't been working as hard as me, and she treats me like I'm a dog. She yells at me constantly. Sometimes you just help her, and all she wants to do is gripe at you. Sometimes it gets on my nerves when I just sit down and you ask me to do a bunch of things. Why don't you say, can you give me a soda and my phone? And one time, instead of having me get
Why
back
you
up
got
and
an
redo
attitude with me?
I'm just saying.
Lose the attitude.
Well, it's like every time I turn around, you want something.
Whatever, Amy.
You say you want to get off that walker.
Okay, shut up. I'll do it when I'm ready.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, and I saved hundreds. With all the money I saved, thought I'd buy.
Little Liberty Mutual ad.
About to hurt your mouth. I try so hard not to freaking fight with you, but you keep digging in.
You're the one digging in.
Well, obviously, if they're eating and being happy, then they're probably not arguing about all of this. But you know, some sort of restrictive diet is probably. And also, I'd imagine a high-fat, high-sugar diet probably messes with your brain in a certain way to be like aggro. But yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know. There's some that I'd have to think about a little bit more. But yeah, it's, you know, it's crazy. This is like a super weird condition where both of them are super fat, right? It's like the fat one is the enabler, and the even fatter one. I don't really know how to think about this. Yeah, but yeah, self-control is super important. It's why I don't think like, you know, like when I think about it in a Christian perspective, because I am. Like I don't see specifically that gluttony is maybe like I don't know, maybe there's a verse out there that says that it's a sin.
I mean, I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too.
I'm not completely sure, but I do think the lack of self-control is really not of the Holy Spirit, right? Because you know, the fruit of the Spirit is clearly laid out, self-control, and I think a lot of times that's described as someone who's able to like hold their tongue and sort of do what needs to be done. But I also think it's very applicable in this case, right? It's which is why it's frustrating to see certain groups of the church in general be so overweight and lack a certain sense of self-control, because you know, if you live by the Spirit, then you really shouldn't be you really shouldn't be going to like buffets and gorging your freaking stomach out and just eating without self-control, because that's really not of the Spirit, and I think that's really counter to what's being taught specifically in the gospel. So yeah, you know, and it's being fat is kind of an epidemic in America, and it's the people who purport to be Christians, you know, that population of people is they're not immune to it. So it's definitely something. If you are overweight as a Christian, I think you're living in. You might be living in sin. It's something to consider and think about and pray about. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna end. Well, I guess I should probably end by saying, like, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.